Good morning, guys. Weir, roadrooter.com with your morning horn of Z's, sip of coffee. I'd like to start off today. If you guys have watched the SGT Andy Hoffman video that was posted yesterday, I said check it out. Really bizarre conversation, really. But it made me think that I've been very, very much too hard on Lynette Zang. So I would like to apologize to Lynette Zang for overreacting. I think V the Gorilla got me a little pumped up. I don't blame him, but I was kind of pumped up. Anyway, there's a lot of strange energies from space, as Cliff High says, so everybody's kind of reactions and nerves are on edge, but there is room for conspiracy theories, and I mean, that's what the whole GATA thing is all about, the conspiracy to rig the gold market, to rig the silver market. And I remember back when I first came out with the Road to Root of Theory back in January of 2007, and I was knee-deep in GATA. So was Andy Hoffman. And I said, oh my God, look at this publication from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. You know, basically it's saying that the Federal Reserve Bank is on our side and is purposely trying to destroy the U.S. monetary system and go back to a gold standard. And I was ostracized like you would not believe from the GATA community. I mean, Andy was one of the lead vocal points on that. So this is nothing new from Andy. That's fine. He does get a little odd in this thing. And Sean, God bless Sean for playing the moderator in this craziness that's going on today. But I would like to apologize to Lynette and keep up the work and keep up the investigation into whatever you think might be going on. I would, again, say, you know, ACC chain might not be the real missing link. I would go towards what was it? Asset, blockchain asset holding, asset, I don't even remember the name of the company I told her to check out. Blythe Masters' company. That's more likely. But also remember that in the world of securitizing assets, all these assets that you're talking about that might go onto a blockchain with a central node just meaning a centralized control. All those are already in a central node. All those assets that would go on there are already at the DTCC and part of Seed and Company. It's just not exactly put on a blockchain, and a centralized blockchain kind of defeats the purpose of a blockchain. So am I concerned that ACC chain is going to digitize all assets and put them on a centralized node? No, that's their right. They own the assets. Seed and Company owns every asset legally. So I would, you know, if Lynette, if you're looking to do some research into digital asset holdings, the Blythe Masters company, the DTCC, and Seed and Company. But having Seed and Company put all their assets on an ACC blockchain would accomplish what you are saying is the big conspiracy, that they're trying to get all assets onto this centralized node. But they own all the assets, so not all of them, but most of them, except the decentralized cryptos, which is exactly why we're doing this. It's exactly why the crypto sphere is growing and becoming independent of any kind of centralized government. I don't think any of the decentralized assets that are currently growing will be put into any kind of super node or the ACC chain or anything like that. That's the banksters and the people who control those assets. Do whatever you want. This is a free world. My assets, I'm not going to put on any kind of centralized node. Anyway, so yeah, Lynette, keep going on it. Dig deeper and keep giving us your findings. That's my take. As for Andy, yeah, I don't know what happened in this video. Listen to the video, and he said that basically the gold in the Grand Canyon and the root theory and everything about the Fed that I believe is happening, and I've done the research on. I think it's absolutely true, and Andy doesn't. So that's, you know, the way he vocalizes it, whatever. But the fact that he says, oh, he has one piece of fact that is, you know, the article he found in the New York Times back in 1912. That's it. That's all he has. No, I've been writing a book on this for 2 years. There's tons of more information. As a matter of fact, that specific article, I think, was placed there by Nelson Aldrich in order to push Woodrow Wilson into signing the Federal Reserve Act. So, Andy, you got to get your facts straight when it comes to how much evidence I have on the Grand Canyon gold, and the gold at Chocolate Mountain, and the gold, Yamashita's gold. And Yamashita's gold is a great example. This is kind of why I stopped writing the book on the Grand Canyon. Peggy and Sterling Seagrave spent their whole lives tracking down bits of information, court documents, government documents, congressional testimony proving that there's over 300,000 tons of gold in the world. And they prove it beyond any shadow of a doubt. If you read Gold Warriors and the other books that were written about Yamashita's gold, it's pretty easy to see that there's something else going on and there's massive amounts of gold in the world. But I said to myself, all right, Bix, you're going to write a book about the Grand Canyon. You're going to prove all these things. But, who would believe you? These guys like Andy are stuck in their past, and they believe they are correct about everything, even though none of the research that he has done on the gold in the Grand Canyon, I mean, all he points to is this article right here. And this was the very first thing that got me, excited about doing the research. Tell of vast riches in the Grand Canyon. This article from 1912 in the New York Times. If you go to the bottom here, I have this on the Road to Ruta Resources. Right there, New York Times. I got this out of the New York Times archives, June 19th, 1912. How I ended up at this spot in the archives, I have no idea. But it did get me doing the research. And for 2 years, off and on, I've been doing research into it. And, there's court cases, huge court cases, about getting control of this away from the federal government. Utah sued them, sued the federal government so that they can get the mining rights. Every president since Reagan has been trying to get into the Grand Canyon to exploit the mining within the Grand Canyon, and no one's been allowed in there since really Woodrow Wilson. And after the signing of the Federal Reserve Act, he started locking up the Grand Canyon, and now the Grand Canyon is completely off limits in areas. And we can go through, here's some of my research on Nelson Aldrich, the Central Bank of Nelson Aldrich. This is a huge paddle wheel steamboat that they try to put in to pull the, it was the idea, let's get this gold out. But if you go back into this article, the original article, they talk about billions of ounces of gold. And remember, in 1900, there was only 100 million ounces of gold that was circulating as money. If you introduce billions and billions of ounces, because they said there's billions of ounces in the cliffs, there's billions of ounces in the silt, there's billions of ounces upstream, and you introduce that into the monetary system, yeah, that would be enough to scare Woodrow Wilson, who was very much against central banks, into signing the Federal Reserve Act. But he wouldn't do it just because the New York Times posted an article. He did have expeditions out, and he sent people out to the Grand Canyon to verify that this gold was there. And I have all that documentation. Here's a court case, 1931. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, Utah versus the United States, about the legal rights to the banks of the Grand Canyon. And then if you're into the conspiracy stuff, which I absolutely am, and Andy saying there's no such thing as aliens almost made me fall off my chair laughing. But you can believe what you want. There's all kinds of stuff within the Grand Canyon that is completely unexplainable as far as, just look at what they named all these mountains. They're all Egyptian names. I don't think they're Egyptian artifacts. I think they're artifacts of something well before the Egyptians came into being, because we can't build the Great Pyramids today. We couldn't build Machu Picchu today. We couldn't build all these, Mayan unbelievable monuments today. And why would we? And when you think that these were built 10,000 years ago, before they had any, motorized vehicles and cranes that we would use today, our past is not our past, and that has absolutely changed. But so yeah, that's my take on. So I'm not going to pick on Lynette Zang anymore. I would encourage her to continue to do the research, but remember that all assets, or the majority of the assets by humanity right now, are owned by Seed and Company anyway, which is, whether it's on a blockchain or not on a blockchain, it's all centralized. So, would we move from a centralized accumulation of assets at Seed and Company to a centralized accumulation of the very same assets at ACC Chain or Blythe Masters, whatever she creates? I don't think it matters. The banksters and the bad guys still own all the assets. They can do whatever they want with them. And then again, there's this decentralized system that's building up right next to it. And that's the road to Ruta theory right now. But yeah, I encourage everybody to go to roadtoruta.com, and you can read the original Road to Ruta theory, the original reports I wrote. Check out the Federal Reserve Bank comic books and how I came to these theories, the people involved. Alan Greenspan, who invented the first banking computer programs. He was the one who blamed himself for Y2K. He was the master computer programmer. Andy in that video talks about these are the smartest people on earth. I do believe that in some areas. I mean, obviously, like mathematics and computer programming, yeah, these are the smartest people on earth. And Alan Greenspan was one of those with his friend John Kemeny. John Kemeny invented BASIC, and Alan Greenspan ran with it and invented electronic computing for banking, and invented a system to rig the markets to control the system. Everybody laughed at me in 2007 when I said that, but now you got all these books on computer rigging and things like that. This has been going on since the 70s, and I prove it many times. And you can just check out the Road to Ruta theory, Greenspan's golden secrets, and all the stuff that I've gone over. Check out roadtoruta.com. And I'm going to put that to bed. No more need for fighting and bickering, so we move on. The interesting thing today is this. Bitcoin Cash has jumped 80%. It was like, why? My take why is that the battles aren't over within the Bitcoin community. Are we going to keep Bitcoin a store of value, or will it be a means of exchange? It'll keep the battles. SegWit 2x needs implementing. All that stuff is still going to go on, which will tamper the growth of Bitcoin and the cryptos, but it's still moving forward. Whatever happens with Bitcoin Cash happens. I'm not heavily invested in Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash. I like the other options better. Litecoin, I think, will be great for as a means of exchange, and Charlie Lee is doing everything he can to make it so. And it's a very positive environment too. So yeah, it's a better investment. I like being in positive things. Litecoin right now is at $46. I think it'll move to at least 1/4 of what Bitcoin is. I do believe Bitcoin will continue. I had a Bitcoin projection of 10,000 by the end of the year, and I made that projection last year. A lot based on Cliff High's work, and my thought that these things will continue to grow because it's good for humanity, and it will be allowed to flourish within certain restraints from the governments around the world. But they know what we know, and that comes from the Federal Reserve Bank, that we need a new system. Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. We need a new system. We need to kick these banksters out of controlling our lives, which is great, which is very positive. So yeah, I'm very positive about the future of cryptocurrencies. Silver, when silver is released from manipulation, it's going to go moonshot. Gold should do well, but I think there's a lot of disclosure that needs to come out about the hidden stashes of gold. Chocolate Mountain's another one that, this is all in congressional testimony. And Chocolate Mountain was the Miners Association was up in arms that the federal government was locking up one of the biggest gold mines in the history of the United States or the world, and the U.S. was locking it into a military base, and now Dianne Feinstein has locked up a majority of the gold-bearing land down in Southern California and put it into a federal desert wildlife preserve, saving this for the future. So yeah, there's a lot of disclosures that need to come out about gold, but I think, in relation to unbacked fiat money and the derivatives behind that, yeah, gold will go up massively as well. Not as much as silver, not as much as the cryptos, but it'll do well. That's my take, and it's been my take since I discovered all these secret hidden gold things. I read Yamashita's Gold by the Peggy and Sterling Seagrave, and I was blown away. And I think everybody should read that. Anybody who doubts anybody who says there's 180,000 tons of gold in the world and that's all, needs to read those books, needs to do research into the Grand Canyon gold, into Chocolate Mountain gold, and all the gold that Dianne Feinstein has locked up in the desert wildlife preserves in Southern California. It's interesting, and it's stuff. And yes, there is plenty of room for conspiracy theory, because everything starts out as a conspiracy theory and then gets proven as fact as you do more and more research. I think I've proven that in the Road to Ruta research I've done. Yeah, it was completely off the wall when I said, yeah, the Federal Reserve is purposely trying to destroy the monetary system, and here's their plan. And now, even the GATA guys are saying, well, yeah, there is computer rigging in the gold and silver markets, and that was unheard of back then. That was, everybody thought, oh my God, it's J.P. Morgan and the Federal Reserve trying to, keep us away from keep us out of our profits and things like that. No, they're trying to control the system via computers that were implemented in the 70s. And with Michael Lewis's book, everybody said, oh my God, yeah, the markets are rigged. But it still goes on. So if I write a book, it'll be another book on how much gold there is. Here's a book here. Here's a book here. I lent out my, these are about Yamashita's gold. I lent out my book, Gold Warriors, to someone. I haven't got it back. And I have the 3 CD-ROM discs of all the documentation from the Gold Warriors book. And it gets into the Ollie North trials. I mean, there's a ton of documentation. But where did it get us? And so that's kind of why I stopped writing the Grand Canyon Gold book. Is where's it going to get us? It's going to get us nowhere. Even if I prove beyond a shadow of doubt, and I show all this information that I have, and I dig and I dig and I dig, and I come out with something amazing, just like Peggy and Sterling Seagrave did, people who don't want to believe it aren't going to believe it. So I kind of put it on the back burner. I'm not saying I'll never finish the book, but I don't think I'll finish it in time before the United States reveals how much gold that is in the Grand Canyon, that is in Southern California, and all throughout the state, really. I mean, that has been our plan since the invention of the Federal Reserve, is to hide everything within our borders, use everybody else's oil, everybody else's gold and silver and natural resources, because at some point, the unbacked fiat money system will stop and nobody will take the U.S. dollar, and then all of a sudden we'd be sitting there with very little natural resources. But what we've done, we've locked them up into military bases, Gull Island up in Alaska, huge oil deposit that could last us like 200 years or something ridiculous like that they capped off in the 60s. All that stuff is real and true, and you can believe it or not, and you can do all the research you want to find out what it is. But we're going to just keep trucking along here at the Road to Ruta, and hopefully make that smooth adjustment from the old system to something new. And hopefully this something new is going to be a positive thing, and it will reveal all the secrets about our monetary system, yes, about aliens. I would tell Andy to buy some night vision goggles and tell me what you see in the sky at night. It changes your mind about what's real and what's not real pretty quickly. Yeah, that's the Road to Ruta for this morning, the Horn of Z's. And I would just like to say, let's keep as much as we can positive and not spit on and crap on conspiracy theories, because conspiracy theories a lot of times turned into conspiracy fact, like the rigging of the markets with computers. The Enron, I remember people telling me that Enron was a conspiracy theory when a lot of people were talking about the conspiracy that was going on there. And they're like, I was like, well, they're rigging the markets, the energy markets. How can't you see this? And they're like, oh, that's conspiracy theory. That's conspiracy theory. And then all of a sudden it's proven to be true and it's conspiracy fact. It's still a conspiracy. So don't let people throw out that conspiracy theory word and make you turn your back on doing the homework. And Lynette Zang, keep going. Keep fighting the fight. you might get to a point where you could say, "Ha, we have arrived," and probably nobody will care because you can't stop people from putting all their own assets that they already hold as seed and company into some kind of centralized blockchain. I don't think it'll affect the decentralized economy that's being built at all. And I would fight, to keep it decentralized. And I think everybody within the Bitcoin community and the cryptocurrency community will fight to keep it decentralized. And it won't be hard. A lot of those assets that are over here in the centralized thing will start flowing into the decentralized space because it's more honest and more truthful and not controlled by an upper power. So that's my story for today. Everybody, you take care. Have a good one. This is Big Weir, roadtoroota.com. We'll talk to you later.